3 Airsoft Desert Eagles. Tokyo Marui, Cybergun Cybergun KWC. Which one will be victorious? You decide. Okay, let's start with the basics. Let's start with the box. Which box do you think looks the best and gives the most information about the product inside? So we start with Tokyo Marui, a black box with a picture of the pistol on the front. So the chrome against the black looks really nice. So that's your Tokyo Marui box. In terms of information, yeah, you're pretty much limited as to what it says on the box. And then we have the Cybergun Desert Eagle. As we know, OEM, futuristic looking box, sort of a white print of the Desert Eagle on the front. And again, just like the Tokyo Marui, very limited information about the pistol itself. Almost non-existent. You've got the back here, but that's not about the pistol itself. That's more of your warnings and stuff like that. And then finally, we have the KWC, again Cybergun, Desert Eagle. As you can see there, full color box. But it does go into some of the features of the pistol itself and some of the spec along the bottom. That's the KWC Cybergun Desert Eagle box. Oh, and just in case you're wondering, when I say it's your choice, it really is. Because at the end of this video, a poll's going to come up on the screen and you will choose which one of these Desert Eagles is your favorite. Okay, so let's get down to the actual Airsoft Desert Eagles themselves, the actual construction, what they're made out of. We'll start off with the Tokyo Marui. As most people know already, predominantly externally it's plastic, ABS, okay? Then we have the Cybergun WeTech version, full metal. And then here we have the KWC Cybergun version of the Desert Eagle, the slide metal, the lower frame polymer. So to recap very quickly, ABS plastic, full metal, slide metal, lower frame, plastic. Now the next comparison we're going to move on to are the trades. What it actually says on the pistol itself. This is the Tokyo Marui Desert Eagle, and before I go any further, let me remind you that the Desert Eagle, the world famous hand cannon, started off in the United States of America, okay? It's an American masterpiece. However, the first proper finished model went into production in Israel. So keep both of those facts in mind when you read what each pistol has along the side. Now, as you can see here on the Tokyo Marui, it's all about Israel. As you can see, it's got your trades along here, and then when you look on the other side, it mentions Magnum Research, but it does say made in Japan at the bottom. Now obviously that relates to the actual Airsoft pistol itself. That's where this was made. But in terms of authenticity, I'll let you decide. And now we move on to the Cybergun WeTech OEM version of the Desert Eagle. Here's your official trades on this side and also on that side. And now we have the Cybergun KWC version with the trades on this side. As you can see there, this one's printed in white ink, and the same on the other side. So in your opinion, which one of these looks more authentic? Now it's quite obvious which ones are the officially licensed ones, but I don't want you to just vote on which one has the correct trademarks and the correct wordings on them. I also want you to vote on which one actually looks better, the way it's been presented on the side of the pistol, now the next thing I'd like you to vote on are the grips. We're starting off with the Tokyo Marui. Take a look at this. Take note of the logo. Take note of the finish of the grip. I'd also like to take this opportunity to tell you this has a rubberized feel to the grip. That's the Tokyo Marui. And now we have the Cybergun WeTech version. Take note of the logo. Take note of the finish of the grip. And I'll also tell you right now, this has a more plasticky feel to the grip. The Cybergun WeTech. And now we move on to the Cybergun KWC version. Take note of the logo and the finish of the grip. And this Cybergun KWC version also has a rubberized feel to the grips. I'd also like you to take note that this Tokyo Marui seems to have a seam going down the back. The WeTech one, the seam starts at the top there, but as soon as you get to the sort of stippled section, there's no seam. The KWC one, no seam right there.
I'm not too sure about that. Look closely. Actually, if you look ever so closely, there is a slight seam, but it's almost invisible. But the rest of the grip, no seam.
Right now, I'd like to go into the overall finish and presentation of each of these Desert Eagles. This is your Tokyo Marui. Despite it being made out of ABS, it's got that sort of metal chrome finish to it. I'm not allowed to give my opinion, but take note of the finish. And now we have the Cybergun WeTech version, which has a matte finish to it. And finally we have the Cybergun KWC version, which has a less of a matte finish to it. Now, although this video is not about my personal opinion, but I will give an impartial point of view right now. I think they all look gorgeous. They've all got their own merits in the finish. And do remember too that this Tokyo Marui not only comes in this colour, it also comes in black. And this KWC not only comes in this colour, it also comes in that sort of silver chrome finish. Now, in a real steel world, these things are beasts. They're big, they're heavy. As I mentioned before, they're also nicknamed hand cannons. In the airsoft world, we can say the same thing, relatively speaking. However, which one of these closely replicates the real steel weight? So I'm going to put the weights up on the screen right now of each of these Desert Eagles. The Tokyo Marui. The Cybergun WeTech. The Cybergun KWC. Okay, so let's compare the three mags. You've got your Tokyo Marui Desert Eagle, you've got your Cybergun WeTech Desert Eagle, you've got your Cybergun KWC Desert Eagle mag. Now, your Tokyo Marui, the first thing I will show you is that you're able to see where the BBs are and how full the mag is in terms of how many rounds.
Here's the Cybergun WeTech version. And here's the Cybergun KWC version.
Now let's talk about mag capacity. The Tokyo Marui takes around 27 rounds. The Cybergun WeTech version takes around 21 rounds. The Cybergun KWC version also takes around 21 rounds. Now let's talk about power source.
Yes, let's. Because there's still this ongoing argument as to whether you should put green gas in the Tokyo Marui pistol or not. Some people say you should only put duster gas or 134A or 144A gas in a Tokyo Marui pistol because it's predominantly made out of plastic, ABS. But then there's others that say no, you can safely use green gas because the Tokyo Marui has metal internals. And the mag itself is also metal. So I believe it's safe to say
the Tokyo Marui capable of taking 144A gas or something similar, and also green gas. The Cybergun WeTech mag capable of taking green gas and of course anything lower, and some even use propane. The Cybergun KWC mag CO2. Let me just quickly tell you, when you use 144A gas or 134A or anything like that in the Tokyo Marui, the benefits of that is that it's kinder to your airsoft pistol. Again, some say you can use green gas. And of course, the benefits of using green gas is that you'll get a stronger FPS, and of course it's got silicone oil in there, so it helps to lubricate your airsoft pistol. And of course, you've got your Cybergun WeTech mag, again, green gas, same benefits, that you've got silicone oil in it and a stronger FPS. And of course you've got the Cybergun KWC mag that takes CO2. So it's supposed to be more stable and reliable no matter the weather conditions. Right, so I'm going to go into the actual features of the airsoft pistols themselves, okay? I will say now, you can vote based on which replicates the real steel more, or you can vote on the actual features and what you get. Let's start off with the fire selector switch. On the Tokyo Marui, you've got your safe and you have your fire mode. Let's have a feel, see if it's loose, see if it's firm, and what it sounds like when you move it. So right now it's in your safe mode. Let's put it into fire mode. Satisfying click, it doesn't feel loose at all. The Tokyo Marui. And now we have the Cybergun WeTech version. Again, safe mode or fire mode. Again, satisfying click, but it does feel a lot looser than the Tokyo Marui. The Cybergun WeTech. The Cybergun KWC. Straight away you can see the difference because it's got your safe mode, your single shot semi-auto mode, and your full auto mode. Again, a very firm fire selector switch, a little bit stiffer when you go into the full auto mode, but this is your Cybergun KWC. Going back to the Tokyo Marui, you have your red dot there that signifies it's in fire mode. On the Cybergun WeTech, no red dot, but you have a dot. The Cybergun KWC, you have your red dot. Now to the hammer of the pistols. On the top of the hammer, you've got these grooves, so it makes it a lot easier to grip onto it and cock. Now with the Tokyo Marui, it feels quite loose to cock this pistol, but it cocks. And as you can see there, it's got a seam going down the center of the hammer. The Cybergun WeTech, again, you've got that gripped section on the top of the hammer right there that makes it easier to cock the hammer. positive click, and it feels slightly firmer to pull it back than the Tokyo Marui. And if you look on the top, there's no seam. The Cybergun KWC, again, a nice gripped section on the top. Less of a positive click, however, it feels a lot firmer than the other two Desert Eagles when cocking. And if you look on the top, again, no seam. Now, although I showed you this unsightly seam on the Tokyo Marui Desert Eagle hammer on the top right here, and that there is none on the Cybergun WeTech version or the Cybergun KWC version, if you look on the part that actually hits the pin, there's no seam on the Tokyo Marui.
I've got this, and if you look on the Cybergun WeTech version, what looks like a seam isn't. And on the Cybergun KWC, there's no seam. Again, this section here quite clearly looks like a seam, but trust me, it isn't. It's just where it's been scratched or marked on the Cybergun WeTech version.
Okay, so let's have a quick look at the sights. This is your Tokyo Marui Desert Eagle sight. This is your Cybergun WeTech Desert Eagle sight. This is your Cybergun KWC Desert Eagle sight. And as you can see, they're pretty much all the same. Okay, so now let's take a look at the slide lock and release on each of these Desert Eagles. This is your Tokyo Marui. And also, listen up. How does it sound to you? That's your Tokyo Marui, and it locks very nicely. And now the release. And now the Cybergun WeTech version, listen up. Locks very nicely. And now the release. And now the Cybergun KWC version, listen up. Locks very nicely. And now the release. And we'll get to the actual trigger pull during the shooting test. Right now, in terms of the magazine, how you release it and what it's like putting the magazine back into the pistol, let's start with the Tokyo Marui. So I press the magazine release. Pretty good. No snarls. Slips out nicely. The Cybergun WeTech. Again. Nice. The Cybergun KWC. Again. Smooth. Nice. Inserting the Tokyo Marui mag back into the Desert Eagle. Smooth, positive, no rattling. Inserting the mag back into the Cybergun WeTech. Right, there's a little resistance there, but if you give it a bit more oomph, it goes in. No rattling. Inserting the mag back into the Cybergun KWC. Goes in smoothly. The mag is firm. There is a little rattling noise, but that's nothing to do with the mag. Now, if I quickly go back to when you rack the slides on these Desert Eagles, if we look here at this section right here, the gripped section, if you look, I'm going to show you how prominent each one is. Now, they're all pretty much the same, okay? So they are based on the real steel Desert Eagle. So it is easy to get hold of this slide and rack it back. And this has some nice deep grooves in the Tokyo Marui. And it's pretty much the same on the Cybergun WeTech. But on the Cybergun KWC, the grooves are a little bit deeper, giving you much more of a grip. Okay, so let's take a look inside each of these Airsoft Deagles, starting with the Tokyo Marui. So there's the slide, or the internals of the slide on the Tokyo Marui. And just like the real steel, you've got your two springs right there. Let's have a look at the lower frame.
That looks different to how I've seen other internals on other Airsoft Deagles, but yeah. And while I'm here, I might as well show you that this piece right here actually works in conjunction with your trigger. Look what happens to the trigger when I push or pull this backwards or forwards, look. See that? You can see how that works. But obviously this needs to be sat down there when I put it back together. And just like all the other Deagles, real steel or airsoft, the barrel can be separated. And now the Cybergun Wii. I must say, it seemed to be a little bit easier taking this one down. And look, there's your full size springs on the Cybergun Wii version. And of course, the barrel comes off separately. And there's your lower frame on the Cybergun Wii. And now the Cybergun KWC version. Like with all the others, the barrel comes off, and also you can remove your slide. Now this one is a little bit more fiddly when taking it down, so I'm not going to go any further than that. I simply wanted to show you how all three Deagles or Airsoft Deagles have two springs just like the real steel. Okay, at this point I will say out of all three Deagles, this KWC one is a bit more fiddlier when it comes to fill stripping it. Which is why I'm not going any further than just showing you this piece right here. Also, I'll be here all day. But when you are putting it back together, if I just show you right here, I don't know if you can see it, if I bring it a little bit closer. These two springs right here and their guide rods need to be sat exactly where you see it. They can't be beyond that, okay? Or you won't be able to successfully put this back together. Okay, so let's move on to the shooting test. We're going to see the power differences of all three. Now I know technically you could say, well, you could try putting a bit of red gas or black gas in this and it'll be even stronger. This as well, but it'll probably fall apart. And this, yeah, you could use other gases apart from CO2 if you have a different mag system. So just to recap, out of the box and playing by manufacturer's rules, the Tokyo Marui, you would either use duster gas or 134A gas, 144A gas, or at a push, green gas. The Cybergun WeTech, out of the box, use green gas. The Cybergun KWC, CO2. And just to make things just that little bit more accurate, I'm going to be using a shooting rest. So I think the first thing to do, and the only fair thing to do, is to do the chrono test first, so we've got no magazine performance issues due to mag freeze or anything like that during the shooting test itself. So we're going to chrono the Tokyo Marui with the 144A gas, the lower powered gas. And just to make it a little bit more interesting, I'm also going to chrono this Tokyo Marui Desert Eagle with green gas. Tokyo Marui with 144A gas. So as you can see there, even with the lower powered gas 144A, this was pretty much shooting in the 300s. So I would average that out at over 300 FPS, Tokyo Marui with 144A gas.
Okay, so now the Tokyo Marui again, but this time the mag has been filled with green gas. And there you go, you can see the difference straight away. With the 144A, you were getting around 300 FPS, but with green gas, we're looking at an average of about 340 FPS. The Tokyo Marui Desert Eagle. And now we move on to the Cybergun WeTech Desert Eagle. And we're using green gas. So there you go, that's the Cybergun WeTech Desert Eagle. I would say that was averaging out at about 320 FPS using green gas. And now we move on to the Cybergun KWC using CO2. So there you go. Now it started off pretty hot, which is what I expected from CO2. It was hitting about 360 when I first started shooting, and then it lowered itself down now because of that high start and then it dropping down to around just under 340. I would still average that out at about 340 FPS. The Cybergun KWC. Okay, so now it's time for the accuracy test. Now, like I showed you earlier, I will be using a shooting rest. However, that doesn't mean it will completely eliminate human error. So I'm just going to base these tests on how I would fire each of these airsoft pistols, and you can make your own mind up which one you think is the best. And as you can see there, I've given each target its own Desert Eagle. So target number 1, any shot in or around that target will only be from the Tokyo Marui. Target number 2, the Cybergun Wii version. Target number 3, the Cybergun KWC version. And for this particular test, I'm only going to be putting 4 rounds in each target. So there you go, people, there are the results. The Tokyo Marui, as you can see there, let's look at this properly now, come in closer. Okay, now before we analyze the accuracy, look, let me just show you the size of this target. Here's a bottle cap of a well-known drinks manufacturer. Look, that's to show you how small this is. And at the distance that I was, I'm gonna declare it right now, all 3 Desert Eagles did very well. one surprisingly did a bit better than the other, although it may not appear so. So let's first start off with Tokyo Marui. As you can see there's my shots right there. There's shot number 1, 2, 3, 4. Whether it is in that order, it doesn't matter, but there's your 4 shots. Pretty much almost dead on bullseye, especially this shot right there. And then we move on to the Cybergun Wii. Now, you're probably thinking, hold on, all the shots are just outside this very small target. Now, because of the distance and the size of this target, I would still say that's an excellent result right there. And if you're thinking, how can it be excellent if it's not even in the target? Well, that could be a number of things. One, the gun rest that I was using, I could have had the Cybergun Wii pistol at a slightly different angle whilst resting on the gun rest. Remember, that gun rest doesn't clamp guns down, so you are going to get the kick as well, which could also throw your shots off. But the fact that it consistently hit right there tells me that the Cybergun Wii version of the Desert Eagle is quite precise, because although I hadn't targeted it properly right in the dead on center, the first BB hit right on the edge and all the others grouped together tightly, more tightly than any of the others. So let's move now to Cybergun KWC. And there's your Cybergun KWC results. Now in terms of accuracy, again, this is so small that I would say the grouping on this is excellent, okay? I did get one shot outside of the target, but the rest were pretty much on target, 2 being within that bullseye right there, but not dead on center, and 1 right at the edge. So again, in terms of accuracy for all 3 Airsoft Desert Eagles, I would say there's not much between them. Now I know some of you that already own the Cybergun KWC Desert Eagle would never forgive me if I don't at least show you its full auto capabilities. Now, I'm merely showing it to you just to show you what it's capable of. Oh, awesome! And it locks back successfully. Okay, let me just empty the mag on the Tokyo Marui and check that it locks back successfully also. Oh, nice, and there's a nice kick on it as well, just like the KWC I demonstrated. Okay, this is the Cybergun WeTech Desert Eagle. Let's see if the slide locks back successfully. Let's go a bit faster. Oh, nice. So all 3 look back successfully. And I'll tell you now, the one with the hardest kick for me was the Cybergun Wii version of the Desert Eagle, followed very closely by the Tokyo Marui, and then extremely closely just behind that was the KWC version. Now in terms of how the trigger feels to pull, with the Tokyo Marui, I found during the shooting test, it had a nice, smooth, spongy feel to it, but although I say spongy, it was still quite positive. It didn't feel loose. The Cybergun Wii version, I would say almost identical to the Tokyo Marui, just slightly firmer, bit more of a resistance on the trigger pull. And on the Cybergun KWC version, I found this one to have the most resistance, much more firmer, much more of a positive pull when you're engaging with the trigger.
Okay people, so that's it. It's time for you to vote. So right up there in the corner, you're going to see a poll pop up, and you choose which of these 3 Desert Eagles you prefer the most. Is it the Tokyo Marui? Is it the Cybergun Wii? Or is it the Cybergun KWC? Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time right here on Airsoft Mike's YouTube channel. Now I wonder if people are going to ask about the price comparison. Why didn't I include that? Well, the prices vary so much around the world. So that's why I didn't. And what about what you get inside the box? Well, it would have just made this video even longer. And we don't need that, do we?